Allah! Kabala ay okay
Exactly.
Ready, set, go. Coming to you live, it's the AutoHub show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less, and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, you don't want to be bothered? Fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now. If you click on the link, you can sign up for our webinar. It's live with me, and you'll learn the 7 strategies that you need at your dealership in order to see that success.
Hi, everyone. This is Paul Brobson, the CEO over at Trusted Sale. And if you don't know Larry Feldman at Career Changers, boy, are you missing out. Now, what are you missing, you might ask? Well, for starters, you're missing the world's best trainer. But seriously, what makes Larry a great trainer is how engaged he keeps his audience. I was at a store recently while Larry was conducting training. And let me tell you, nobody wanted to leave that room. I mean, even when they needed a bio break, they wanted to stick around and hear what Larry had to say. The great late Jim Valvano, who said, to me, there are 3 things everyone should try to do every day. Number 1 is laugh. Number 2 is think. Spend some time in thought every day. And number 3, you should have your emotions move you to tears. If you laugh, think, and cry, that's a heck of a day. Well, I can tell you, Larry's going to make you laugh. He's going to make you think. And yeah, every once in a while, he's going to make you shed a tear or two. But one thing I can say, it's a heck of a day when Larry comes to visit. But wait, there's more. There is? Yeah. Not only is Larry a great trainer, but he's also one hell of a recruiter. So if you need people in your dealership, I mean anyone, you need technicians, salespeople, managers, BDC agents, whatever you need, Larry can get you staffed right with the right people and do it fast.
Ways to improve. Every month we'll want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is, the longer it takes, the more money we spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, I like to say we're at a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to their front line. The average days in recon, and then the time to line are the most important thing to get to. I'm Mike Burrell, and Service Director at JM Lexus.
And good morning. So go ahead. So what I did was I tried to put together some books on, I guess, online shopping and retail reset, because that was kind of the topic. So it was interesting just because, you know, there. 1 second here. Present. There's a lot of books, but there's not a lot in this topic that I could find. So I did pick a few. So the ones I picked were Retail Reset, Gross Deception by Dale Pollock, and The End of Online Shopping. Go ahead with our disclaimer, Jeff.
Well, good morning, everybody. We got a packed show today, some really good stuff, and therefore it might be controversial. So, of course, the views and opinions shared today are those of our guests and not necessarily those of ours. We are an apolitical organization, and we're all about making things better for the car business. So, thank you for attending. If you want the full thing, check out our website, AutoHubShow.com.
And today's show is the month-end advisory panel show. And if you are looking to be on an interview show, next year we are launching a new show, which is going to be called the 2024 Mystery Guest Show. And those shows will be one-on-one interviews that will be recorded, and then we'll be putting those out over time. So we're looking for people who want to do a one-on-one short question session, maybe as long as 20 to 30 minutes. So if you're looking to do that show, let us know. And of course, we are going to be looking for probably one sponsor for that show. We're not sure, but we'll have more details soon. So let's get into it. Go ahead, Mr. Jeff.
Well, good morning. We have quite the panel today. A very eclectic group of people. I did want to say that if you noticed Gail's video, she was her skin was a much more lighter tone, a milkier tone than it is today. After she's got back from Hawaii, lucky girl. So welcome back, and of course, we have the forever tanned April Simmons from the Sunshine Land, Peter Smith of the Canadian Pallid White, Doug Reeves, Larry Feldman, who never gets out in the sun because he's too busy flying everywhere, and Joe Boris. When you swim with the sharks, you get eaten by the electric cars. But we'll get everybody to do a quick introduction, even though I went through it. And we're just going to touch on the first question in a little different format today. So, Peter, you're the first to log in. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Peter Smith from Lion Partnership here in Ontario, Canada. I'm looking forward to this show just because of it. I know what the topic is.
Doug, please say hello.
Yeah, Doug Reeves from AZ Sync, based in Colorado. I echo what Peter says. I'm interested in the topic today.
Terrific. Thank you, Gail. Thanks. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm Gail from Retail Resilience, social selling for the car industry. And I just got back from Hawaii and I'm ready to talk about inventory today.
Anyway, Larry, say hi, buddy.
Oh, he's on mute.
Hello to everybody. Hope everybody had a good, healthy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Joe, welcome back. Thanks to see you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be here. Obviously, the enthusiast, been involved in the car business for, better part of 25 years now. And I've been sick for 2.5 weeks, so it's good to be vertical.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I got COVID so bad. I don't know. I should have got the boosters and the vaccines and everything else. I thought I was going to die, but I'm glad to be vertical. Happy to be here.
Rock and roll.
Well, I have to say, if you were sick, you sure look good today.
Always look good, baby.
That's right. And I'm going to welcome April for joining us today. Thank you so much. A person who is so knowledgeable about everything. It's very tough at 21 years old to be that knowledgeable. Say hi, April.
Oh, you just made my whole day. Hope you all had a great turkey day. I did. I didn't have to cook or clean, so it was awesome. I just got to eat and partake, so it was really, really great time. But happy to be here this Monday morning.
Terrific. Well, thanks again. So I'm going to hit you with the first question here. And the advisory panel show is a little different than our normal one because, believe it or not, Ian and I kind of sit there mostly quiet, and all we do is kind of direct people. But so it appears the prediction of that great philosopher Pietro Esmito is it appears the Great Reset has started, and things are changing. And we came up with this topic because we're appearing everywhere. We saw, I don't know how many of you saw Black Friday sales at dealers. There was one I saw that was a Volvo dealer, $2,000 off Black Friday sale. And Volvo dealers around my neck of the woods were some of the worst culprits of things. The cars magically got gossamer air in the tires for $17,000. I was kidding. But seeing as how Peter is the author of the term, tell us what's happening in your market with inventory promotions, and we'll move on to the next person.
Well, I guess we got to go back to where I started this great reset thought process when it was back at NADA last January, and basically everyone was running around going, "Oh, the profits, everything's great," and I said, within 1 year, you're going to see a dramatic change in everything, from profitability to digital retailing to AI to everything. Everything's going to change. We're going to start off at ground zero again, and it's going to be a massive reset. The thought process, the mindset, everything's going to be changing. So that's where I came up with the term. Now, moving forward on what I think and what's going on, the manufacturers, from all the intelligence I'm gathering, are starting to realize that people cannot afford a $900 car payment. And that's what's happening with the interest rates. No one wants to pay $1,000, $1,200 for a $60,000 vehicle. And I just saw online a $40,000 Kia Palisade or Telluride. I forget which one's which and which brand, but a $40,000 net capitalized cost. It was $892 a month in the U.S. And that was based on a 12.25% interest rate. It was ridiculous. It was Kia, and Kia's base rate was 7.25, but they were giving $2,000 off the car. So they were making it up, and the dealers have to start understanding that the buying public is becoming more intelligent, and they're going to slow it down, and they're seeing it. And you see with the Black Friday results, I was on the Clubhouse calls for the last 3 days, and the Black Friday results were showing that exactly. They were coming in, and they were at about 40% of last year, from what I've gathered from most of the dealers. Now, the other side of it is that people are starting to recognize the digital retail. Now, digital retail, the next thing that's coming is Hyundai with Amazon, and we talked about this last week. It's going to reset the digital atmosphere. That is going.
Oh, we lost them.
DR to dealers is lead generation.
Yeah.
DR to the public is anything that touches digital. And dealers have to start focusing on what the public's seeing, and if they want to get back in the game. And that's the great dealers are going to see it, and they're going to move on to it. And there was a gentleman who's head of market. I forget what his actual title is. His name's Trent, and he works for Ford. And the number one thing that he talked about advising, was 5 top tips coming into the future, was a single person interaction at the dealership.
What Doug does.
Yeah. So that's what's going to be in my next article that I published today, about what he had said and how that relates to what Doug does. So
yeah,
it's interesting. It's all changing.
Yeah, and also when you look at a no-brainer promotion, if you haven't checked out what's in the chat, thanks to Mr. Graff on this, if you're selling any vehicles that are over 6,000 pounds, and the shocking amount of those vehicles, it's a no-brainer to promote that to your business clients, because of course there's a huge tax deduction available for those clients. So if you're I'm not a tax lawyer and I can't speak to all the details, but that article is fascinating because you'd be surprised what vehicles are on that list. So if you have customers who are business clients who are buying a vehicle or leasing a vehicle who can take advantage of that, it's a huge tax deduction in the U.S. market. I think it's up to $23,000 tax deduction for vehicles in that area. So if you want to sell vehicles and maybe not have Black Friday promotions, or want to make it interesting, that's a great article. And thanks to Don for that. But go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I have to tell you something, though. You brought that up, Peter. I'm still away on holidays. I'm in Mazatlan. And took a picture. I walked by a Jeep dealer the other day, and there was a Wrangler 4xe Sahara. No, it's not a 4xe, just a Wrangler Sahara. Got a 2-inch lift on it, nice big tires, nice brand new Jeep. MSRP in the window. Now, remember, this is in pesos. Was 1,250,000 pesos. So it's 12 and a half to the Canadian dollar. So that's $100,000 Canadian. Interest rates here are 12%. And they're selling like hotcakes. So it must be the cartels. So they're all over the place, brand new vehicles. And it's mind-boggling. I saw a Bronco in a mall, 1,650,000 pesos. That's almost $100,000 US. So, and it wasn't a Tremor, just so you know, or a Raptor. Next, Doug, you were the second person to log in. What's happening in your neck of the woods? I know you're kind of insulated from it. You don't pay attention because you're the most positive person here. But
well, it is interesting because when I responded to your request for what's going on in the market, my response was, I have no idea because my particular demographic, I don't really pay attention to it. I'm not exposed to a lot of ads. I'm not seeing a lot of things from a, promotion standpoint. But based on what Peter had indicated, I think that my conclusion is that dealers now have to stop focusing on trying to sell. I think they have to do a better job of sitting down and being the source of all knowledge for customers. I think customers too often are coming in thinking they want to get X car, and once they go through driving it and then the numbers hit them, they're like, oh crap, I can't buy a car. And I think it's more important that we spend the time early on to determine exactly what it is that they need and finding the right car that's going to fit their budget or fit their needs, and not just assuming that this always has to be the most expensive car. To us, it comes back to, again, experience. There's a Forbes survey that said customers will pay more. 58 to 70% of people will pay more if they know they're going to get treated right, if the experience is going to be right, if their problems will be solved. So I think focusing more on that as opposed to simply the vehicle itself may eliminate the need to drop your price, may eliminate the need to race to the bottom, but we may provide a more valuable experience for the customer by able to just sit down and empathizing with them and say, I know what you're going through. We all are going through this. Let's sit down and see how we can solve your problem. And maybe today's not the day. And they have to be willing to say, maybe today's not the day, but think about the customer and don't think about themselves.
I also got to speak to this.
Point.
I got to speak to this. I got this in the mail on the weekend. I think it was last week. Jeep putting in another non-original idea, but win your Jeep $80,000 whatever Wagoneer or whatever it is. But the thing that was interesting was when you entered it online, it's a website that does this. You had the option to select a dealer or not select a dealer, which I thought was really interesting. So I was curious about what they were doing just because I wasn't sure if you selected a deal or whether they'd get back to you. You would be shocked about how fast they were at getting back to you. I got a call and an email within less than 5 minutes of submitting it.
From a dealer?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh my God. So what's wrong here? So it's interesting though, Doug, you brought this up because, I started to think about real estate too. And people, now in the entire North American market is slow. Real estate slowed down. Vancouver, our market is the hottest in the world right now. Prices are damn close to it. And they're having trouble selling places because people aren't walking in going, oh, can I get it? Can I get it? Can I multiple offers? The realtors, the ones that made a lot of money by just having a listing, don't know what to do because they don't know how to present a value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with salespeople. Larry, what's your thoughts on this? What are you seeing? Because your market's everywhere.
Well, I am seeing a lot of movement and a little bit of panic, and it's really interesting because I'm a big believer that the more things change, the more they stay the same, and I just think it's a huge advantage, as we always talk about, to just be a human being, to just do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. If we reach out to customers quickly, if they can hear us smiling through the phone, or if they see us in person, if we're smiling, if we understand how important each customer is, that they're an annuity, not an annoyance. You know, you've seen me in action, Jeff. I try to trick people into acting like the $400 cost to bring somebody into a dealership is coming out of their pocket instead of the owners. Just simple stuff. Again, it's an old cliche I use all the time. My father taught it to me. If you want to stay rich, act like you're broke. And if you want to go broke, act like you're rich. So it's just exacerbating in these times because we were making people that had no talent were making a fortune by accident. They pointed a car and say, here's how much over it is. Do you want it? If not, these three people take it. But I just think get back to the elemental processes, smiling at people and writing things down and acting like people are really excited to see the people that are coming in to spend their money. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. And we do have some challenges, and it was inevitable that people like Jeff Bezos and people that like to try to gobble up other companies were going to try to attack us. And the only way to fight that is to make the in-person experience so invaluable and so pleasant that they're not going to want to do it, by hitting a button.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Thank you. I'm going to go turn to the dealer in the room because you know something. We all of us except for this person, we know who that is. We're on the outskirts. But so I'm going to ask April. I'm going to say it's not what are you seeing in your market. What are you guys doing? What I know you guys are too cool to panic, but what are you guys doing?
Oh no, panic has ensued. I will tell you, there's not a single store that there's not a good amount of panic. And it's interesting to me because as I'm listening to everyone and we talk to back to basics and we talk, the big reset as Peter mentioned, and, Larry's, hey, let's just take care of people. The reality of it is, my dad told me when I was pretty young, he said, one of the reasons that you will do well in life is that you have this ability to learn lessons from other people's mistakes. And he said, most people can't do that. Most people have to make the mistake themselves, no matter what other people tell them, before they'll, they can move forward. And nothing has been truer to me than over the last couple of years, as we have told. I don't care whether it's a general manager, a sales manager, a sales guy, any of these departments. This is what's going to happen. Here's what we have to look forward to. This isn't like a prediction of like, oh, hey, we're guessing. No, this is fact. This is how history works. This is how economy works. This is one-on-one stuff here. This is how this is going to happen. You need to make sure you save money. You need to make sure that you understand that it's not going to stay like this, that this is how this is going to go forward. And the majority of people didn't do it. The majority of people went out and overextended themselves and, like Larry said, went and, acted rich and went and bought a bunch of stuff. And now that's why panic is ensuing. The people that are panicked right now are the people who have either never been through this before or did not yield the things that we were telling them and going forward. So about a year ago, I realized that the training I was doing and the conversations I was having with people about this was just falling on deaf ears and started to become honestly a waste of my time. Yep. So I kind of just pivoted and said, okay, well, I'm going to work on all the things I can do to create a foundation. And then I'm going to be ready to pivot. As soon as it starts to turn, they'll start to listen, right? As far as trading goes. So that's where we're at now. Now it's like all day, every day, we're in there trying to not just say the word back to basics, but what is back to basics? It is taking care of the customer. It's not just saying take it or leave it. It's not just saying, hey, yeah, I've got the car. When can you be here? It's actually building those sales skills that are really, really important going forward. And then from a marketing standpoint, yes, A lot of that is going back to volume-based marketing, getting back to having proactive conversations. I can't tell you how many people reached out to me on Wednesday wanting to do Black Friday stuff. And I said, you guys are funny. Remember when I asked you about this last month? You know, in the first of the month and the second of the month? Yeah, you guys are way too late. The good news for you is here's all the things that I already did for you, ... right? But we don't typically hear what's been interesting for me that I have witnessed, and this is prior to COVID, prior to inventory shortage. We don't have these big holidays anymore. So we used to always have like this, you know, 2/3 of the month would be over that holiday weekend. And now, because we start to do Black Friday starting today and on the first of the month, what we're starting to realize is that we have this trickling effect where we don't have it in just 1 or 2 days. We kind of have it over the entire month, and we don't see this huge surge in a short period of time. The exception to that seems to be the week between Christmas and New Year's. We will have a huge week that week. But yeah, the gross per car is going down. The volume for us has stayed pretty steady, but the panic is widespread, and it is absolutely widespread of you know, just fear of actually having to, you know, get back to work for the dollar. So
April, what happens if you're that person that isn't panicked? What happens if you're that person that isn't pressing, that's smiling, that's relaxed? You know, it's such a huge opportunity. You know, nature abhors a vacuum, and anything that's negative always puts a big possibility up there. But there has to be some management pulling people into the room and saying, "The hell with what they say. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it." A guy tried to trick me once and said that they have the 4th of July in England. I said, of course they do. What do? They skip from the 3rd to the 5th. Let's act like every damn day is Black Friday.
Yeah. No, and that's a super valid point, Larry. I think I spent a lot of time doing that. It's something that worked really well for me in 2008, and we got hit really hard back then. Was just trying to, you know, control our controllables, try to keep panic at Sue, build sales fundamental skills. You know, I joke about it, but I read Who Moved My Cheese with my team, a chapter at a time, you know, back in 2008, just to try to mindset wise say, hey, if we don't have our mind right, if we're not good here, there's nothing that I can sell. I can't sell anything if I don't believe it myself. You know, and not to get all cliche-y, but I do believe in cliches, you know, the believe to achieve and all the different things. You have that head, right? And that goes from your GMs down. So now I spend a lot of time, you know, making sure my GM's heads are right and making sure that we're having those conversations, because there is going to be people that are going to leave the business. Nothing we can do about it. We can all sit here and say, oh yeah, there's all this, and that we can do. No, there's a lot of people who went out there, bought the big bad boy payments, now think it's our fault, and they're going to leave. And that's just what we have to deal with. We have to know that turnover is inevitable over the next 6 to 12 months. But as we wrapped up October, I did a really interesting step. I like to go to data, right? When we start to have emotions running high, I like to go pull some spreadsheets and put them together and say, see, it's not so bad, don't panic. And so that's what I did at the end of October. And it was kind of an interesting thing that I put together. At the end, October for us is typically one of our worst months of the year. So when you back that up to, you know, things starting to slide a little bit, that's where panic really started to push forward was October. So I went and I said, okay, let's compare October, not just year over year or month over month, but let's look at October 23 versus 22 versus 21 versus 20 versus 19 versus 18, right? And I just lined them up in one line. And I said, look, it's not that bad. We're still up profitability wise and units wise significantly if I throw on the last 2 years. So we're up over 18, we're up over 19, we're up over 20. Yes, we're down a little bit from the last 2 years, but who isn't? And we all knew that this is what was going to happen. So sometimes just putting math in front of people can stop the panic when you go, wait a minute, we did just fine in 2018. We did okay in 2019. 2020, we had a lot of hurdles, but we made it through. So I think that sometimes math can be our best friend when panic starts to set in.
But the other thing,
April, because Jeff determined you're 21, You never heard this song, you're too young. Jerry Butler had it right. Only the strong survive. Right? We'll weed out the weak ones. And listen, I'm all for people leaving because I'm a recruiter. Let them all damn leave. I could stand another big screen TV and some more leather furniture.
Here's the best analogy I just thought of while you were talking, Info, is right now, what's happening to dealers, because it was so good, is like the high school college football quarterback, the star of their high school. They graduate from high school, they did not get picked up for college ball, and they're no longer the most popular guy in town. And all of a sudden they have to work on their personality instead of their position. Gail, you've been sitting there very quiet, and I got to tell you, the queen of TikTok, it's a hard thing for her, just like for me. But Gail, we're going to pivot a little bit because we're right at 8:30 here. Yeah, you've been too busy sitting on catamarans and drinking Mai Tais and eating pineapple and stuff. So where do we go? By the way, the tan is fantastic. So how do we go from here? We've been talking a little bit about it, and other than we say to dealers, "I told you so." How do dealers become, and we've touched on it a bit, get profitable, stay profitable, maintain ethical business practices? Because when things slow down, it's really easy to say, "I'll tell you what," and you get $5,000 off the car. Then they get in the business office, and there's hot dog fees, and there's finance fees, and there's prep fees, and there's, my favorite, as I said before, was in the old days of Honda, decor fee of $12.95.
Decor fee.
Decor fee. Come on, you did it. But Gail, what do we do now?
I'm kind of on the same bus as April here. So in any economy, it's the same thing, right? You have your ups, your downs, and it just goes like this. And we're in the turn. It's like the 2008 turn where it went down, and then you had to go back. Like she said, you have to go back to the basics of the car industry. So you may need to do marketing the way you used to do marketing. You may need to do sales process the way you used to do sales process, but just with some added tech tools, right? So like the digital retailing tool, you have your ads running into your digital retailing tool. The lead comes in. Your sales staff have to be prepped and ready to understand where that lead came from, what information was put in. Am I validating this information from the DR tool properly? So I'm just really going back to what April said. Like, we've seen this before. Every car dealer has been through this if you've been in the industry a long time. And I've been around for 25 years. It's crazy. And just do your job. So go to work, get your leads, learn your word tracks, learn how to, do proper effective follow-up, learn how to properly speak to the customer, provide that experience, like what Doug was saying, give them that experience, and make it, human to human. Just really going back to the basics. And my biggest advice to car dealers is don't use your AI chatbots to provide the customer experience. It is hurting you, not helping you. So I have mystery shopped multiple car dealers. I've mystery shopped at least 10 of our clients, and I called every single owner of that dealership and said, your AI is hurting your sales process. It is not helping you. People want to speak to humans. So there are certain ways to use AI, and there are certain ways not to use AI. And if you think AI is going to replace a human in that experience, you are so unbelievably off the marker. But anyway, that's my 2 cents for today.
Gail, 1 second. Gail, that thing about humans being replaced by AI, you apparently haven't met any of my wife's relatives that were over for Thanksgiving. That would have been a welcome replacement.
It's interesting what you said about technology. I think too easy, the default response is we'll throw tech at it and that'll fix it. And I actually think they need to do the opposite. I think dealers need to do a tech audit. And the audit has to be what's not working, what's redundant, what can we get rid of, but most importantly, what technology will enable us to power the vision that we have as far as selling cars, as far as where we're going to get to. and stop, Peter put out the article today about, stop living in 30 days. Start thinking on a grander scale of this is the direction we want to go. This is the trajectory we want to go. What's going to make that happen for us? And don't just throw tech at it just to say, there, we're getting lazy, we'll just throw tech at it. Because in the end, it still is people. Don't make pet tech replace people. Just make the tech, make your people more effective.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had experience last week. I was looking at possibly changing my vehicle. So I went into a dealership, happened to be a Volkswagen dealership, one of the largest groups in the country I live in. And the salesman, love him or hate him, he asked me probably the dumbest question I think I've heard in many years about trade value. And then as soon as he came back, wanted me to talk to the used car director immediately because he wasn't sure how to handle it. Obviously, no training. And then the used car director was trying to use information, rightly or wrongly, to justify his number, but he wasn't willing to do anything on his car. So it was like everything was broken front to back. But to talk about follow-up, and I said, hey, let me debate it. I'll talk to you, whatever. Even their follow-up was lacking. So it was like broken all the way through. But the funniest thing, and I had to talk with Jeff about this, V-Auto is what he was using to justify his trade value, which was fine. But he was also talking about how he's made all these bad decisions on the inventory he's already got on his lot. On a discussion with me, and I'm like, don't tell me that information, man. That doesn't build your case very well. Like, what are you doing? It's kind of funny.
The worst thing in the world, and watch Gail on this one, the worst thing in the world you can do is base your sales decision on what the cost of your car is. Because if you did dumb stuff before, you're sitting at 120 days of inventory because you had all sorts of things you could do no wrong, and all of a sudden that car stands you 20% more than it's worth, and you say, I gotta get $2,000 gross, but I gotta lower my stuff, so I'm gonna steal the trade and get stupid money for my car. See you later.
But the funniest thing wasn't even that, and hey, I obviously training is needed for that group. But what was funny, to bring up April's point, is what he was talking about. And I was like, okay, well, based on my experience in the car business, I always found October to be bad because you ran out of inventory. And then, February being bad because people spent too much on Christmas. He goes, oh, no, that's all changed. We're worried about March now. I'm like, what do you mean you're worried about March now? Where did that come from? So I was sitting there going, what? Like, retail's been that way for as long as I've been alive. Like, that probably hasn't changed much. But to April's point, and this is something I did when I sold cars, I would do, an annual, monthly, year over year, all the time. But then more importantly, I'd prepare for, okay, I know these months are going to be bad. That means I have to do more to drive up that month and make it, be better. And, obviously if that month's going to be bad, I've got to adjust things like, what am I paying for my inventory? How quickly am I turning my inventory? What am I doing to talk to my salespeople about how to have better conversations? My closing rate may decline, so I got to get better. And it was interesting because when a sales guy who presents one number is bringing the client to me immediately, that's a problem. Like, I shouldn't be in that situation right out of the gate.
I'd like to get your opinion, Joe, now that you've turned off the cool little picture there. What's your thoughts on this?
It's tough, right? Because we just went through this process. My sister had a baby, and I sent her to a good friend of mine, Dan Josick, over at McGrath Hyundai. Dan is no longer there. I guess I'm not that good of a friend because he left about a year ago and I didn't know that. But yeah, very similar experience to what Ian described. It was just a mess from start to finish. The first question that the guy called and asked her had nothing to do with, oh, what are you shopping for? What do you look at? There was zero sense of discovery. The first question was, yeah, we have that vehicle. When can you come in the store?
Right.
And she's sitting here saying, hey, I just had a baby. I have a stroller and a car seat that I thought would fit in my car. It doesn't fit. I need to get something bigger. He doesn't know any of that. He didn't ask. And from start to finish, it was, I think training is needed is the right answer there. And I really don't know where it comes from. I was making comments in the meeting chat that, you know, I think a lot of the emphasis on making a human connection has been lost in the last couple of years with, you know, with inventory being as limited as it was and it being kind of a seller's market. And as we go into a buyer's market, I hesitate to say that, you know, maybe we should move away from a commission business, because what I always loved about this business was, you know, my raise became effective when I did. And I was always able to make really good money. And, you know, I shared the floor with guys who were making more than me and guys who were making a whole lot less. So I hesitate to say that. I don't think that's the right answer, but there has to be something in place for these guys to be able to say, if this person leaves today, it's not going to affect whether or not I can put food on the table.
Right.
It's not going to affect, you know, whether or not little Jimmy can get shoes for tomorrow. I don't know what the answer is. But I think that something needs to change. And I think honestly, not to blow smoke up Doug, but I think honestly, just going to an A to Z approach where you are building a lifetime, you're building a real relationship with these people, and you have several bites at the apple along the way, not just the sale, but the sale, the financing, the ongoing service, and you can get some small piece of that ongoing customer lifetime value, would lead to more people treating customers like annuities and not annoyances. So,
yeah, I think that and create this industry's got to create the image that you can have a solid career, not just a temporary job.
exactly right.
And we haven't done a good job there. And, you know, the industries that thrive, that don't panic, are the ones where people have been there a long time. They're rewarded. They're growing the whole 9 yards, and the industry hasn't done that. And it's just, I thought, what April said was kind of interesting. It's kind of like, why do we have to have special holidays when every day could be a holiday?
Right.
I mean, there's a group in Colorado that there's only one big promotion they do a year, and it's to support a local charity. Otherwise, you would never know it's a 4th of July or Christmas or anything listening to their promotions.
Doug, a lot of this
We
is,
run, what's that?
I said, Doug, a lot of this is upper management problems with not making people feel like they're part of the team, not explaining things. When I was in the business, it was simple. There'd be a rebate or a program, and they didn't let the salespeople know. And now we're a lot touchy and feelier. They got to make people feel like they're part of something, they're part of the team. Because without that, I mean, this is a tough business. And if you don't feel like you're part of something and you're supported, I think it's easy to give up. Don't you, Doug?
Larry, I touch on this quickly. I'm sorry, I got to interject. It isn't just upper management, it is an industry thought. Joe just mentioned he sent his sister,
Yeah.
a person he trusted at a store. He didn't know they were gone. Our industry has a mindset that if you're not gone, you're going to be gone. And it doesn't matter if it's the new sales guy, if it's the vice president of the company, the CEO, the dealer principal, the general manager. Ask any in our business, and there aren't that many that say this business is a career business.
No.
The Brian Benstocks of the world do, because he's an anomaly. He's 42 years in one dealership. Oh my God. The industry average isn't even 4 years in a dealership. It is something. It is an issue, and it's a cultural issue, not just a person.
Well, yeah, I mean, when Gail made the statement, look, we know turnover is coming. If I'm a dealer, I want to take the opposite and say, I'm not going to let turnover come. I'm going to figure out why, if anybody leaves, I want to know why they left and how I stop that from happening going forward.
Yeah, because it's not like you have people clamoring saying, yeah, I want that job as much as you'd like to. I mean, we were at, I just edited a video, Larry and I were at SEMA, and we edited a video with, I think it's Techniques, or anyway, the company has, the name escapes me, but, his whole thing was around independent shops with technicians. And then there's another company we interviewed where really it was about, oh, well, we're helping dealers, build a better culture, sharing social media in the dealership. But more importantly, maybe that could be used for recruiting or retention. So it was kind of interesting. These companies that are kind of on the fringe, good or bad, that are really filling a need. And that need is not being filled currently because everyone's so focused on, how do I sell those 20 cars today versus how do I build a long-term career? I mean, I harken back to when I sold cars and people come in and they'd be like, well, I'm not sure if I'm buying today. No problem. I'm going to be here tomorrow. Like, I'm physically coming back. Like, I'm not going to be vapor tomorrow. And I think some of it's panic and fear, which was evident when I was at this Volkswagen dealer. I mean, the salesman was just like, what do I do?
April had a great point. I mean, it's like, if you could sit down with your employees and say, here's what the next year's going to look like for you in most cases, and here's, don't worry about selling a car. Let's worry about managing you as a person and your finances and your goals and all of that. Then whatever happens is irrelevant because they've been prepared. But we don't take the time to counsel people on life skills and things of that nature, which would be incredibly valuable in our industry.
So let me jump on that one. I across the board, I've had many conversations with a number of y'all, and a number of other professionals in this industry about designing a platform that does that. We need to recognize that managers manage results. That's all they do. They're there every month. They're there every day going, we need one more unit. We need 2 more units today. We need this. And the pressure upon them is pushed onto results. That's why I say get off the 30-day mentality. If we can turn around and say, okay, we're gonna look at a annual basis, and we're gonna design business plans for revenue generating staff. We're going to coach you to those plans. We're going to develop those plans so that you can see long-term success and repetitive annuities moving forward that you can build upon your career, not a job, as most of us got into this industry as a job. We can change and redevelop this whole business, i.e. the Great Reset. We have to look at coaching. Coaching is a mandate. You look at in Doug's company, was it F&I magazine that put out the article on Nelson Mazda?
Yeah.
And you look at Nelson Mazda as a forerunner in this movement, and you will see a dramatic change in the culture of the business. And that once we can create that culture, the people, it just creates an aura that sucks in the people like a vacuum, that they want to be part of that culture. They want to be at a job that they feel secure at, that they don't go in every day thinking that they could be fired because they haven't hit their numbers for the month, or they can be replaced, or a customer who didn't get floor mats is so angry that they pushed it out onto every social media, the OEM, and everyone else that they can speak to just because they didn't receive $75 worth of floor mats. And that reputation has tarnished the dealership so badly that the GM has had such a bad day that he walks down and goes, "You're gone. I can't have this happen to the dealership." And we've seen it all happen. It happened to me. I was one of the top BMW salespeople in Canada, and I didn't make a call back to a customer fast enough. He wrote the OEM, and the OEM called the owner, and the owner called me up to his office and said, "Did you call this guy?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "You lied to me." And I said, "No, I called him at 10 o'clock this morning." "Well, you didn't call him yesterday. You're fired." And it was, that's the way this business works. And we can't operate that way anymore. We have to train our staff to be that much better in a customer experience manner.
You know, Peter, I have to tell you, I know a dealer because I know a bunch of them. And all they do is complain they can't find good people. Yet, if you look at the Float Sam and Jet Sam that's left after, all behind their thing are great people.
Well, here's one thing. And this, sometimes it sounds like I'm dealer bashing, and I'm not dealer bashing. I don't believe in dealer bashing. I think that's the wrong thing. I think that dealers don't have the capability of having the 100% visibility that they need. They don't have it because each individual person has a focus on their own individual silo. That you take a general manager, they don't have the opportunity or the time to focus on every single silo in the dealership. It's impossible. They don't have the bandwidth to do it. So that dealer bashing is not there. They have to come in and April, you're on Jim's program quite a bit, and Jim's number one statement is hire an outside vendor that can help you with your visibility because you can't do it all yourself. And we gotta bring back in true mystery shopping, like actual mystery shopping that's going to give us what is actually happening in the dealership. Not, oh, they called me back. Yeah, they did a good job. Yeah, you know what? I would have bought off Julie, or I would. Billy was a great guy. Yeah, he's great, and he followed up. No, a true mystery shop is the one is over 100 different points, and it's going to show you every aspect of the dealership for visibility, so that you can train those people properly. You can coach them to bring that on, and it's absolutely vital to the health of this industry moving forward. Because when we talk about digital retailing, it's coming fast, and if you are not prepared for it, you're going to be going from champ to chump very quickly.
But the
Okay, I gotta jump in on a couple things here.
jump in. I love it.
Number one, I applaud almost everything that you said. But here's one thing I always think about when we talk about what managers don't do with regards to the people. And part of it is because managers only know how to manage based on how they were managed.
Right.
So it becomes this generational thing, just like, abusive kids become abusers. That's kind of what I see happening with managers. And they keep, telling the managers, look, treat people the way you wish you were treated, not necessarily the way that you were. And that's where we really need to start, is that it's okay to be the person who changes that. It's okay to be the person who looks at these humans as actual humans and not just a number that is going to be in our wake because they didn't do exactly what you wanted. The other thing that I have to remind myself and our people all the time is we're in a management role for a reason. If all the people did things exactly the way you would do them, there would be no need for a manager.
Yep.
Right? So when we talk about lack of good people, when we start throwing that out, I don't have any good people and they all suck, it's because we have this expectation that our people will do it the way we would do it. Well, I showed him how to do it. Why is he not doing it that way? I did this, and it starts to become this resume, like this machismo thing. Well, I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this. I said, well, that's why you are where you are. But your people doesn't make them bad because they don't. And that's something we really have to recognize when we're managing people.
Well,
Exactly.
I just one last comment that I didn't throw in my long-winded session there is that we have to never forget that we're in a customer business. The customer pays. Without the customer, we don't have anybody. So I can absolutely guarantee that there's less than 1% of dealerships out there that have called up customers and picked 20 random customers and said, come on into the dealership, bring on this time, we're gonna bring in lunch, we just wanna have a conversation with you and do a focus group with your customer base and understand what they want and how they feel.
So Peter, that's all fan and dandy. I love that idea. But here's the problem. First and foremost, we have to do that with our people. If we want our people to care about our customers, we have to care about our people first.
Yep.
And that's where we do an epic failure. I'll give you a perfect example. This is an issue that's been in our business since day one. If I'm sick, I'm coming to work. I mean, I literally will be on death's bed before I don't show up to work, right?
Yeah.
And so what kind of customer experience, if I'm going to go out and try to sell a car, am I going to give if I feel awful, just awful?
Yep.
Right? But we do it all day, every day. And we will literally bash the human who doesn't show up on a day that they are sick. Right? We still all do it. That's just what we do. So there are things where we have to, if we expect our people to give the customers the right customer experience, what are we doing to ensure that our people are given that same experience? Are we, giving a shit about our employees first, right? Like that's where it has to start.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about mystery shopping, because I'm a fan of mystery shopping, in fact, I train my internet directors to mystery shop twice a month, but not just them, their people do it.
Yep.
So you give one model to each employee in the team, and they get to mystery shop, because what is key about having your people mystery shop is that then they get followed up with, and you get to see how they follow up. And you get to kind of compare yourself to another human in your market doing the same thing that you're doing by seeing how they do it. And there's nothing more valuable than saying, hey, you know what? I'm doing a really great job. Oh, wow, I need to step up my game because my competition is doing A, B, and C. So mystery shopping is really great for us as upper leaders and managers, but I really empower the people themselves to also mystery shop so they can gauge themselves upon what the competition is doing. So big fan of the mystery shop.
And also, and I think this is something that I guess I could take from Nordstrom's as an example. Celebrate the people that do a great job. That person who comes in sick, who does a great job anyway. That person who maybe had to take a day off, but did a great job elsewhere. I think we're too quick to beat up in a mystery shop versus, okay, I'm researching 5 dealers in a market. Maybe you are that much better, but also the reason behind the mystery shop. You may not be aware what someone else is doing rightly or wrongly, and you can use that and add that to your playbook if you're aware of it. I used to, when I sold cars, go out and shop my competition as a walk-in customer, not only to learn more about what they're saying about a competitive or the same product, but also how they're doing it. Like, what can I learn from someone else who does what I do, right? So I think that's another thing that, is very, very useful to a car dealer, especially when a market gets tight. It's going to be more competitive. So that means you need to increase your game. You need to get better at what you do. You need to stand out in a market.
But also in celebrating the win, the one other thing this is an issue that I've always seen as well. It's celebrating the individual win. And what do I mean by that? A guy who sells 20 cars, if he sells 20 cars next month and 20 cars a month after, we have this tendency of like celebrating this person and we put him on a pedestal and great job. But the guy who went from selling 4 cars to selling 8 cars, we just kind of flum over him. But that guy just doubled his business. And we're not celebrating that. I look at it like this. If I got straight A's in school, and I always got straight A's, but my brother typically got D's, and then he got a C, right?
Yeah.
Like, that should be celebrated hugely because that was big for him, for that individual. So when we talk about goals and we talk about, everyone's goals shouldn't be the same because not everybody is going to be that A player. Not everybody, and not every student gets straight A's, but the people that do, we want to push them further. We want to push them further. But the guy who sent 7, 8 cars, if we can get them to 9 or 10, and everyone, I always say, hey, if I can get every single person to raise their goal 2 cars, 2 cars, 2 cars, I'm maxing out my team, but I'm celebrating those individual wins. We forget about those guys all the time, and we are built on the middle, we can cut the low performers and they continue to be low. The high typically is going to do what the high is going to do because they don't need someone to babysit them. But the middle is where the money is.
Yeah, moving the middle is what it should be about.
I always put out when I'm in the coaching role, I always put out budgets, targets, and goals. And the budget is the actual target. The target is 20% higher, and the goal is 20% higher than that. And if anybody hits their goal, the dealership rewards them for doing it. It
Well-
doesn't matter what level that you're at.
I think April, you brought up something that's interesting. One of the most impactful training that we do as a company is leadership training. Because to your point, there's a difference between managers and leaders. People got thrust into a management position, often simply based on their past performance, but not because they have the acumen to actually lead a group. And we find that our leadership training is so, it's almost like we've opened up this whole new box of things that they've never thought of, but it's also fundamental, but just nobody does it.
Yeah.
And we're out of time.
We're out of time, but I want to leave my end of things with this comment, because you guys have all done that. I know a dealer that's very proud of their onboarding process. And it's actually not bad. It's not good. It's not bad because it suddenly stops.
Mm-hmm.
But before anybody starts, they make them read 2 books. One book is It's My Ship. And this is about a captain of a ship in the US Navy. And we think about the military as this: grunt, you will do that. That's an order. Sir, yes, sir, that's what I do. But this man turned the worst ship in the Navy to the best ship. And he did it by actually living what he believes. And it's a tremendous book. It's My Ship. You get a chance to read it, it's brilliant. Because again, you think the military is, you will do what I tell you, that is it, or you're in trouble. And he actually said to guys in the mess tent, tell me something, why do you like to do this? And they told him, and he improved on processes. But the big disconnect is, hey, it's not don't do as I do, it's do as I say. Read the book, here's how you'll take care of people, and then they proceed to run their business exactly as every other business is run. And it's the holy cow, what are you doing? Blankety blank, blank, blank. So we got to learn that it only works when things are good.
And what's the other book? What's the other book?
Yeah, I can't remember. But everybody, I'm going to leave the end of close. I thank you so much. Another great advisory show. I love you guys being here. We greatly appreciate your support for the entire year. We're winding down 2023. 2024 is going to be really cool. We're going to do a little bit of format changes. We're going to do these individual interviews. We're actually going to have April on doing karaoke, and that'll come after the next convention, which is video.
That's gonna have to be an after dark show. That's gonna have to be an
After
after
dark,
dark show.
The other great book is Extreme Ownership, in my opinion. That's a great book with a military band if you're into that band. But yeah, I think
I saw April in Dallas with cowboy hats on, so you know we lost the video for that.
Yeah.
Ian.
That's about it for me. I think it's very good comments on getting back to basics, which always happens in these times. But I think more it's about measurement. Don't panic. I mean, I hate to quote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but don't panic. I mean, panic is not going to help you, right? Get better at what you do. Panicking is a mistake because the customer sees it.
My friend.
Yeah. Don't panic. Anyway, that's it for me. Have yourself a great week. And a great month end.
Hey, everyone.
Yep.
Take care. Thank you.
Oh la la. What? Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our